Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting out the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. This was like the perfect day, a little breeze, everything like that. This is what you come to Cali for. Our I almost said the wrong Twitter handle. Our the PORSBR. PORSBR is my Twitter handle now, and then Ryan's is RHOLM22. Ryan, how you doing today? The Chiefs have just beaten the Chargers here, 27-24. A late touchdown pass and an onside kick that almost was successful by the Chiefs. I was in and out of this game. I'll probably watch it. I'll probably watch it back on the premium in a second after we get done to get to do some work on it. But what are your thoughts about this game besides the fact that Mahomes should have 3 interceptions?
My first thought is, thank God Amazon has a Thursday package because they showed the all 22 angle during the broadcast. There was some overlays with player names and routes, so it was all colorful, but you could see the safeties and rotations. You get an idea of how routes are developing down the field. So I love that fact of it. As far as the game, it's a lot of what you saw from the Chargers last year. They jumped out to a big lead, 17-7, and then, the second half came, they couldn't sustain drives. They punted, and then Herbert threw a big pick 6 there in the fourth quarter that gave the Chiefs the lead. I think the biggest takeaway from this is, as a Raider fan, I'm kind of happy the Chiefs won because I wanted the Chargers to get a loss within the division because the Raiders have already lost to them now. We need the Raiders to go beat the Chiefs, so we give everyone a loss in the division once the Broncos start playing in the division. And the big key is what's going to happen with Justin Herbert. He's clearly injured. It looked like he broke his ribs. I'm not a doctor, but based on him grimacing every time he threw the ball there late in the fourth quarter. He toughed it out. He threw an interception. He took his team down the field, but he's going to have an injury. He's going to have to play through pain. So we'll see what he looks like going forward for the next couple of weeks. There was an awkward third down and 1. He was rolling out. He could easily run for it, and he basically just threw the ball on the ground to stop the play. He's like, I'm not running. I'm not taking a hit. I'm just going to get rid of this ball and go to fourth down. But I think that was probably the best outcome for the Raiders was to have the Chiefs win that game, just so we can start getting losses for some opponents in the conference. It still goes through Arrowhead. The Raiders are going to have to take care of the Chiefs this year.
No question about it. Let's see here. I did last video I put up was just kind of a little compilation of your all 22 work, and I think Nick 34 liked it. He said like the idea. But if we could, I can't read right now. It would be better if you had Ryan on and he would discuss what's going on. I enjoy film breakdowns and would definitely watch if you guys start doing that. So we could have a couple of those. I think we pick some couple of plays here and there that we both want to kind of break down. I think that'd be kind of cool. If you're down to do that. Yeah. And then Alex Fitzgerald Jr., week 1 loss. It happens. Tough type of loss. Play calling. Why no screens? We were texting back and forth asking that same question, especially when they're playing the safeties deep. We saw so many in the preseason, probably because in the preseason you're just being blah and bland in there. Carr overall play and O-line. Let's see here. What else he had in there? Online. Looking forward to adjustments. Okay. So we have that one. And then let's see what else we got in here. Our season depends on Derek Carr in the offensive line. Jesus Aguirre. I know that. I mean, that's very true. Hopefully we'll definitely see better play from there. Anthony Lopez says good stuff, guys. TY, thank you for recognizing the Chargers went conservative in the second half. Run, pass. Lombardi showed up. So annoying. Raiders will be fine. So we hope they will be fine. Thank you we love the interaction. So keep doing that. Keep sending those things in. As many comments, any likes, whatever. Suggestions, stuff like that. We love that part. You want to go over this injury stuff going on first, or you want to
Yeah,
go
we'll
through
talk
the
about
game?
some injuries.
Yeah, so injuries go Anthony Everett. Like we're a little old school on this because I thought when he had thumb injury, I thought we were gonna be like, okay, he's gonna cast it up and play. I guess he's gonna be out for a little bit, so he's not gonna do that. I guess his left thumb, he has an injury there. Trayvon Morig, which was the injury that I was scared of the whole entire time because I didn't see any depth behind Trayvon Morig. He has an injury. I think it's a hip or his ankle. I thought it says
I think it's hip.
It's hip, right? Hip pointer, right? Excuse me. Denzel Perryman left the game. Didn't really notice too much because I thought J.M. Brown and Devon Diablo he's wearing a green dot, right? In this ball game. So he looked good today. He looked good on Sunday, and a lot of different areas. Brendan Bolden left with a hamstring, and then DJ Turner, who I was just so happy he made the team. He got an ankle injury, and then Andre James is suffering from a concussion. I think on the last play of the game, right?
Yep,
So
last play trying to get the fumble.
Yeah, and so fumble. And then so you had that, and then now I think this week Parham is taking snaps at center right now, or
yep.
So we'll see what happens there. So thoughts about these injuries? I mean they're all pretty big, but I do think that Andre James and probably the depth at corner and safety kind of hurts this team a little bit.
Yeah, they went. I predicted they would keep 10 offensive linemen. They kept 8, and obviously those injuries are starting to pile up. Parham was the only real backup, originally in the interior. They kept 4 interior guys, so you had 3 starters. I predicted Parham would start. He did, but they only had 1 backup. So now Parham's going to have to slide over and play center. Cotton's going to play right guard. Simpson's going to play left guard. Al Davis and the Put On Raiders podcast both agree you never leave a team without corners. That's what Al always said, and they did that. And now we have an injury. So now Amika Robinson's going to get his chance. You see that they claim Guidry off of waivers. They signed Nicole Roby Coleman, to the practice squad. He's going to need to get in shape. It's going to probably take a couple of weeks, but they're scrambling. It's week 2, and we talked about it. Like they had 5 decent ones. I know Twitter wants to get crazy and say, well, Trayvon Mullen didn't play last week. Well, Trayvon Mullen's practicing this week. Like if he was going to miss 2-3 weeks, you still keep him on the roster.
Yeah.
You put him on IR. You're going to need corners. As we saw last year with Brandon Face on Desmond Trufant and the Raiders scrambling. They're already scrambling this year, and it's week 2. Andre James, I think, is going to hurt here because I think he actually had a pretty good game this week. I would say him and Parham by far was the best offensive lineman. He looked great on film. So now playing great at right guard. I don't know why they took him out for how well he was playing. Now we're going to have to slide him over to center. So he's going to have to change some responsibilities. He's going to have to make some line calls. He's going to have to get some snaps to Derek Carr. Lester Cotton, I think, did not play very well. Surprisingly, the guy on film that looked the worst was Colton Miller. Colton Miller did not have a good game. He got thrown around a little bit there, missed some blocks. He didn't play in the preseason, so maybe that was an issue. But if Colton Miller can get back to playing how he can, if Dylan Parham can do what he did in week 1, I thought the right tackles, there was some plays where they got dominated, but overall I thought it was fair. It wasn't as atrocious on film as it looked on TV. And John Simpson actually didn't have a good game either. So we were all worried about the right side of the line, but after looking at it, the left side of the line was actually worse in this game when you looked at the film.
Do you think that? I'm sorry. Do you think that was because? Do you think that's a factor of like just not playing at game speed at any point in the preseason? Like, I mean, some people could say, I know Mick Lombardi made the point of, hey, Devontae Adams didn't, but I mean, not everybody's Devontae Adams. So, but I do think that maybe though some guys should have probably played in the preseason, that might have helped the Raiders in that situation.
I'm gonna hope that's the issue with Colton Miller because he didn't get any snaps. He got we don't know how hard they were going in practice against the Patriots, but he came out of the gate and he faced Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, like probably the best pair of edge rushers in the NFL week 1, and he didn't have any snaps. And the Raiders had 4 preseason games. Like get him out there for 2 or 3 series and let him experience it live contact. The offensive line didn't play together in the preseason, and obviously Parham was a late addition as the starter at right guard, which deservedly show he should have started. But I actually came away from watching the film like not as down on the offensive line as I was watching it live. Now, still, they didn't play well, but they didn't play terribly. So there was a lot of times where I thought Derek Carr held the ball. Matt Collins was running around underneath wide open a lot in this game, and the ball just never went his way. I want to say it's the third down sack at the end of the game, right before the fourth down play. Matt Collins is wide open on an in route, 5 or 6 yard in route. I don't remember off the top of my head where he was in the progression, if he was on the backside of it or not, but he was open. But I think a lot of it was just rust. And like Derek Carr said in his press conference, he was trying to be aggressive down the field. And then the Chargers, Brandon Staley had a great game plan. Just kind of how they rotated the safeties. They were bracket covering guys. They were dropping, taking away the crossers. The middle linebacker, Tranquil, was dropping into the deep half of the field. Just stuff you don't normally see on tape. It was a very innovative and creative plan. And then there was a lot of times where they were playing zone, and Bryce Callahan just stayed and played man on Hunter Renfrow and followed him around the field wherever he went. The rest of the defense is playing zone, and he's one-on-one. And he locked him up. Bryce Callahan locked up Hunter Renfrow on film, which was tough to see because Hunter Renfrow is pretty slippery, but you got to tip your cap to the defense when they're able to do that to him.
I do think people are, especially slot corners, they're kind of sick of hearing about 13. So I really think I think people are going to at least try to be as physical as they can with Hunter Renfrow. Like they're not going to, if you give him space, he can do all the stuff that he does to maneuver to get free and get open. But I think Callahan did a good job of, like, really, when you watch it on tape, I mean, he just really kind of bumped him in the line of scrimmage and did a good job of just being as aggressive as humanly possible with him.
I think the big thing watching Callahan is, like, he never went for the first move. Like, he stayed calm in his back pedal and he waited. He didn't fall for the first juke from Hunter Renfrow and then waited for the second move. I will say all the illegal contact penalties we saw in the preseason, it was a point of emphasis. I think they completely forgot about that in this game because there was numerous times where Renfrow and Waller were getting hit 5-10 yards down the field with no flag coming out. But that's to be expected. That's going to happen. And the Chargers have a good defense. But I came away more hopeful for the season based on what I saw on film. Obviously, in the heat of the moment, watching it live, you get upset when they lose. But there was a lot of positive that came out of that game once you watch the film.
Yeah, I think I kind of get that. I kind of get that same feeling from the coaching staff when they were talking to the head coach Josh McDaniels as well. You mentioned you like some of the adjustments they made and at halftime and on Twitter. What did you see in that situation there as far as what they do to kind of shore up the what was going on?
Well, I think the adjustment you saw from McDaniels and two key plays, I think, are right over the touchdown to Bolden. So what you saw the Chargers doing with their safeties is they were bringing them down at the snap. They weren't dropping back. They were coming down looking for crossers. And the Bolden touchdown, it was a 3-by-1. So they had 3 receivers to the right, 1 to the left. And you saw Darren Waller was singled up on the backside. He actually ran across the field to pull the corner out. But Devontae Adams was lined up at the number 3. So the backside safety immediately buzzes or comes down to get Devontae Adams. That leaves one-on-one Brandon Bolden in the flat. And he kind of looks like he's running an option route, a 2-way option, in or out. And he basically just takes it up the field. No one there. So that's just basically based on what McDaniel saw at halftime, is, hey, these safeties are coming down. Like, I can open this up and get one-on-one with a lot of space. And then the second play was the one where Carr kind of floated it down the field to Waller. It was the same thing. So Waller's coming across on a crossing route, and then he turns it upfield and goes deep and crosses the field with a deep cross. So it was kind of like a shallow cross, and then he went up the field and then went on a deep over. And you saw the safety come underneath him, and Carr made a great pass to throw it over. So just little wrinkles like that, knowing, okay, if they're going to come down, we're going to throw it over the top of them. Defensively, I think Patrick Graham did a good job of Herbert was getting outside the pocket. And you kind of saw, I did put a clip up where they had a 3-down lineman, but they had Max Crosby playing linebacker. And he comes on a blitz. It's a simulated pressure, so you think they're bringing 5, but both linebackers come, so it's Crosby and Brown. And then you see Jones, Nichols, and Farrell. Farrell comes towards the right tackle, but you see him peel off, and he's kind of just sitting there. So they're trying to flush Herbert to the right, which they did, and then you see Farrell there to make him throw an incomplete pass on a 3rd down. So you just saw a couple little wrinkles. He had to change up the play calling a little bit. There was a lot of injuries. Diablo went out for a little bit. Perryman went out. Merritt was out. Averitt was out. Luke Masterson got some snaps there when they were down on the goal line, so he got a few plays. But just seeing how he changed up his coverages a lot, he played a pretty even mix of cover 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you kind of didn't really know what they were in there in the second half. They disguised a couple of coverages, but just the way that they were able to stay within their run fits as well, that put them in the third and long. The Chargers helped them, to be honest, by running the ball consistently. But you kind of saw some wrinkles on third down where they made some adjustments based on what happened in the first half of the game. They were successful in the second half of the game.
What, as far as like when the successful checkdowns, because it seemed like it was just like, they would check the ball down and get, if you force a check down in second and it was almost like every second and 10. And it was just like 8 yards. At that point, it's just like you almost want to give them the first down at that point. But why was that so successful for the Chargers in this game to keep the chains moving?
I mean, the real answer is I don't think Divine Diablo covered very well in this game. There was probably 3 or 4 opportunities where Diablo just, he took a one step the wrong way and didn't read the formations right or to the passing strength and kind of just left some room between him. They played a lot of cover 3, and Diablo was just out of place, and Herbert picked him apart. So I think a lot of that stuff, because we were texting during the game, hey, everyone's open like 4 to 8 yards down the field over the middle, and I think a lot of that was actually Divine Diablo, who's learning how to play linebacker, and they're not asking him like last year with Bradley, where it was just play cover 3, 70% of the time. It was cover 1, then it was cover 3, then it was cover 2. And then, so he's got to learn a lot of things and figure out, passing strengths, route combinations. There's a lot of things going on. And he's a second-year player. So that's the thing to look forward to, because this defense is built around having that guy in the middle of the field. And Diablo, watching his progress as a pass defender over the next couple of weeks is going to be key. I thought Jayon Brown did okay. He ran around. You saw him on the field a lot lately. At the end, I don't know if that had to do with Perryman's injury or not. They rotated in the first half, so there was some beef when they were nickels. Sometimes it was Perryman and Diablo, sometimes it was Brown and Diablo. So I think they're trying to get a feel of which 2 linebackers they want to have out there, where they can do some of this. And eventually, you're going to see those guys blitzing. They didn't blitz a ton in this game with Herbert.
Yeah, and they need to. They need to, and also got those rush lanes. I thought the one thing that, when I watched the film for the Cardinals and Chiefs last week, they did a great job of he just had no way. He couldn't get outside Kyler Murray, and you have to be able to do that this week coming up as well. So Carr's trying to put the little ball down the field against safeties that were that were aggressively coming. They were more up the
They
field.
were taking away everything underneath.
So like
and he needed time, and
the right play
is
to go down the field, but they couldn't. But he didn't have time to do that.
A lot of times, and then there was just times where he just he was locked in.
Yeah.
There was one play late in the fourth quarter where he basically just locked on Hunter Renfrow and was waiting and waiting, and had he come off that and gone to the backside, there was guys open, but he just waited and waited, and it was an incomplete pass. And I think he needs to get comfortable with Matt Collins. He needs to trust that there's enough weapons on this team now that he can come off that primary read and trust the other guys. The one play that bothered me the most was the interception he threw. So he throws the interception down the sideline where Asante Shammo made a great play.
Yeah.
The very next pass was the interception to coming across the field with Renfrow. Like, it's a 3-by-1. He's got to the boundary. He's got Devontae Adams one-on-one, an off coverage. It's a 6-yard hitch. He's open, and Carr looks at him and just doesn't pull the trigger. And then he's late coming back over the middle and throws the interception. I don't know why he was gun shy, why he didn't just throw that hitch route to Devontae Adams and pick up 6 or 7 yards, and then the next thing you know, it's an interception. So there's a lot of uncharacteristic things from Derek Carr, a couple of bad pass blocking snaps, and looking at all the things that they did wrong. Josh Jacobs missed some blitz pickups where they could have had big plays down the field to Devontae Adams. So the Raiders left a lot of meat on the bone, turned the ball over 3 times, and
could have been
still
5.
only lost by 5 points. So that was encouraging. Looking at everything, like we talk about the offensive line a lot, the running backs have to block too. And that's the thing. They kept them in a lot. They kept Foster Moreau in a lot. They kept the running backs in. So a lot of times Carr didn't have that check down to go to this week because they were so concerned with blocking those edge guys. So as they start to play teams where they're not going to be as concerned about the edge rushers, you're going to see some of those check downs open up, those 5-yard dump off passes to the running backs, some quick stuff to the tight ends, and be able to alleviate some of the offensive line concerns. I just think that the game plan was to try to neutralize those edge rushers, and they didn't do a very good job of it. And as a result, they really didn't have any outlets either to dump the ball off to.
Yeah, and with no Keenan Allen in this game as well too, so they couldn't take advantage of that. I thought Abram did a good job with tackling. He was close. He was close on some of these plays. I think sometimes he wants to tackle so much that I think if he just kept that head up a little bit longer, he might have had an interception on that throw on the flat to Austin Eckler. Yeah, I mean, if he has his head up, that he can make a play on the ball, but he's a tackler. That's why he gets paid to do.
He showed some pretty good range and coverage, though.
He looked like he has a clear understanding of what his role is in this defense. I don't know if you got that same feel when you watched.
When I watched the broadcast on that play where Herbert got out to his left and threw the ball down the field, and he hits the guy, and the guy makes a good catch. I think it was Carter, 25, 30 yards down the field. You're like, man, Abram. But on tape, like, he was in the middle of the field and came all the way across. That wasn't his guy. He ran cover 3.
Yeah.
Anthony Everett fell down. And Abram had to run all the way from the middle of the field over there and almost broke it up. So you look at that and you're like, all right, that's a pretty good play from him in coverage. I think they're going to miss Merrick. Fortunately, this week, they don't have to deal with DeAndre Hopkins, maybe not Rondale Moore. So we'll see. They should have a better game defensively, but I have a good feeling about this week after watching the film.
Okay. I don't have that same feeling, but we'll see. We'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, and let's go hit up the offense a little bit. Just Waller. I texted you. And I was like, hey, listen, I thought it's not saying it was just creeping. Like if they get, let's get Waller involved before we throw a pick to Asante Samuel. They threw a pick to Asante Samuel. They got Waller involved. I think with Carr in this offense too is like, it's going to be if you just play within the confines of this offense, everybody's going to get their numbers. It might be a game where Renfrow only has 2 or 3 catches, but it's okay because the 2 weeks after that, he might have 13 targets and have 10 catches. Like, that's how this offense is. So like I think when he's locked on to Renfrow, excuse me, he's trying to get him involved and get him involved where he doesn't. Don't worry about that. Like, if this week is 20 targets for Devontae Adams, the clock is ticking. Like, we don't know how long this is going to be together. So like, let's just get Devontae as much as we can involved. Let's try to win some games, and utilize all the talent that this team has. Everybody will get their numbers at the end of the season.
Yeah, Devontae Adams is a bad man. If you cover him one-on-one, he's going to win. If he's one-on-one, throw it to him every time. I don't care about everyone else's numbers because Devontae Adams is going to win one-on-one. Darren Waller, again, they kept him in to chip a little bit. Some release routes in the flat when they wanted to get him the ball down the field. They had packages to do that. They came out in 22 personnel, so 2 backs, 2 tight ends, but they really moved him out. And he played Z, so you had Adams out to one side. You had in line, you had Morrow blocking, and then you had Waller lined up out as the Z receiver, and they did a play action. They hit him on a slant for about 20 yards. They hit him on a play action pop pass right down the middle against cover 2 for 20 yards. So there's ways to get Darren Waller involved, and they will. I mean, Derwin James was on him a lot. Derwin James is a really good player. We can talk about passing up him for Colton Miller on another episode. I know we talked about it before this, but Derwin James is a difference maker if he's healthy. And I think the guy that's going to lose targets here, unfortunately, is Renfrow. Like, you got to throw the ball to Waller. You got to throw the ball to Adams. And Renfrow will fit in when the targets come.
Yeah, and you mentioned, too, like, when they move Adams inside, it's like –
they couldn't cover him on option routes, on juke routes, return routes.
And I love Renfrow, but, like, it's Devontae freaking Adams. Like, you got to give it to – you got to keep feeding him. You got to keep feeding the beast because he gets better as the game goes along. He just gets more and more, like, like on the verge of taking the game over. You gotta keep giving him the football. And the touchdown catch, the shoestring catch he made was amazing as well too. So, Yeah, I mean Renfro's gonna. I mean, there's targets there for him. They'll figure it out. They'll figure that part out.
They
But
could have put Adams inside and just run option routes and went up and down the field every time. Like the
yeah,
Chargers couldn't cover him in the inside.
it could have been like 25 targets.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Easily.
If Josh Jacobs had pass block, he might have had 3 or 4 more targets.
I know, and I still follow Jalen Richard, and he was actually he was in his room watching like film of him pass blocking and laying people out, and I was like, yeah, what's Jalen doing? What's Jalen doing? 35 seconds left in the half. Just drew a pick to Drew Tranquil. I know what you were thinking, and I get it, but when we had that text exchange, I was like, you know what? Like, if I can just, can I just get, maybe I can get 3 points back. In this situation, I got 3 timeouts. Maybe I got a great kicker. Maybe I can get 3 points before the half. I mean, down 17. Whatever down at halftime, could you possibly get so some points back from the ones you gave up on that interception? Would that turn into a touchdown? What was your thinking? Just get back home.
Yeah, I didn't have any problem with this decision. 35 seconds, coming after it right after the interception, they scored a touchdown. Yeah, I know you had timeouts, but the offensive line, they needed to regroup. They were getting the biggest difference was they were getting the ball to start the second half. If they weren't, I would absolutely said push the ball down the field and try to get points. But the last thing you could have done there is had another turnover, a strip sack, something like that. I didn't have a problem with it. And you saw the adjustments. They came out the first drive, went right down the field and scored a touchdown. And it's still a 7-point game. So I didn't have any problem with that decision.
Middle 8 was huge because like that's the point where, because they like to score. I mean, that's the Patriot way, right? I mean, back in the day, they want to win the middle 8, so you score at the end of the half, and then you score again at the beginning of the third quarter. So that they try to do that, but it didn't happen. It looked like that play. That ball was just, it wasn't. He threw a laser. If that ball was lofted, I think Darren's right there for that.
I don't think he
for a big
saw him,
play.
honestly. I just
You
came
don't think?
from.
Okay, wait, I don't think he saw him at all.
I don't think he saw Tranquil.
Yeah.
Because he actually put some mustard on it. It wasn't like he was trying to loft it over. They tried to fit it in there between the safeties. I could be wrong, but just watching his eyes and the velocity he threw the pass at, I just don't think he saw him.
Yeah, tough play there. Ray Nation had choice words for Chandler Jones.
Rashawn Slater's a good player, and Chandler
player.
Jones made some nice run stops. I know Raider Nation doesn't want to hear about Max Crosby and Chandler
almost
Jones
almost had a safety.
He got close a couple times, but Chandler Jones is 32 years old. Like, if you wanted him to come in here to get 15 sacks, that's not what he's going to do. Like, you're going to have games where he's going to get 2 or 3. You're going to have games where he gets close, but he's probably going to be in the 9 to 11 range at the end of the year. He's not the guy that's going to get 15, 16, 17 sacks anymore, and that's fine. Like, if he gets 10 sacks and Max Crosby eats on the other side, that's more than fine.
Yeah. You mentioned, so we talked about, and we're kind of wrapping up the recap of the after viewing the all 22 Raiders Chargers. Chargers have lost to the Chiefs tonight, so that's a good thing. 28, like, they seem like he could run the football well in this offense, but in passing downs, is he going to be able to hold up against these linebackers to protect the quarterbacks? I mean, that's part of the deal there. I think that's why you saw a little bit of Bolden, and he's probably worried about maybe putting some of the rookie running backs out there, because can they pass block?
It's definitely a concern, because it was more than one time. There was about 3 or 4. The one that comes to mind is they brought a corner blitz, and the corner, Callahan, just ran right around him. And then he hit Carr when Devontae Adams was wide open 20 yards down the field. It was an incomplete pass. He's going to have to, because Bolden's injury, I went back and watched it. It was on a punt return, and he pulled up lame. Didn't get touched. He pulled his hamstring pretty bad. He was laying on the ground on the all-22. You could see him there. They didn't show it during the telecast, but he got hurt early fourth quarter. He's not going to play this week. I don't think, based on what the injury looked like. You're going to see a lot more Amir Abdullah, so he's going to get his chance to be a pass blocker. We'll see how he does. And I don't think you can trust Brown or White at
You
this point to
can't.
be in there on third down.
Yeah, you can't.
So Amir Abdullah is going to get a lot of snaps this week, I think, passing down.
Yeah, and when they come in the game, it's going to be like either a run play or or a play where they're going out for a pass. So people know that if Zaire White or Britton Brown's in the game, they're not
They're
they're
going to
not.
run the ball with those guys on the
Yeah,
field.
they're running the football. They're running. It's when you can't pass. People talk about all these different things in the National Football League, but when you're a running back and you can't pass block, excuse me, and you can't pass block, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, he's in the backfield, it's a run play. Like if I know it at home, then the guy who's getting paid $10 million playing middle linebacker knows that as well too.
Yeah, I think the best thing they can do early, one, they need to run the football because in the second half, when they wanted to, they ran it well. And I know a lot of people on Twitter were hitting me up like, hey, why they should have run the ball more in the first half. They ran 10 plays. So after the first drive in the entire first half. So they didn't really have an opportunity to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And when they wanted to in the second half, they ran the ball better. Josh Jacobs ran the ball hard. I thought Dylan Parham looked really good.
Yeah.
Munford had a couple of good blocks when they started to run power. So I think they're going to try to run the ball at this Cardinals front. The Cardinals are going to blitz a ton, which I think it plays right into Derek Carr. And if they have the hot routes and they get the guys underneath.
Yeah, it should.
But I think that what they do need to do early is throw a couple screens to Jacobs or get the ball to Jacobs, some swing passes, get the ball in his hands out of the backfield so that you can kind of throw off the tendency where the defense doesn't go, okay, Jacobs is in, they're going to run. They got to get him the ball in the passing game early and run the football. So I think you're going to see a heavy dose in the first quarter of Josh Jacobs in this game.
Yeah, it should be. Chevy Silver Raider makes me mad to see Josh Jacobs out at wide receiver when we have weapons at wide receiver. Hopefully, McDaniel stops effing around. So when they do that, they're trying to help the defense declare whether they're in man and zone. Correct? Like when you see him go out, when you see what running back a shotgun and then the running back goes out for wide receiver, goes out to wide receiver, and then maybe he'll come back in. They're trying to help. They're trying to see what the defense is in, right?
Yeah. So if you put a tight end, a running back, a fullback is the number one receiver, so the closest guy to the sideline, it's going to tell the quarterback whether it's man or zone based on who goes with him. So if a corner's out there on Jacobs, then they know they're in zone. But it also means that whoever's on the inside, if it's Devontae Adams, he's against a linebacker.
Yeah.
And it's the same way. If Jacobs goes out there and a linebacker goes with him, then you know they're in some sort of man coverage. So it helps the quarterback identify pre-snap what they might be in based on where the safety is done. And they may rotate the safeties after the snap, but the quarterbacks have a much better idea. And the Patriots did it all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
A lot of teams do it. So they're not putting him out there to be a wide receiver. They're putting him out there because they're trying to open up underneath in the middle of the field for Renfrow and Waller and Adams based on whether they go empty. If it's 5 wide, maybe it's a 2x2 with an inline tight end. They're just trying to figure out the coverage.
Yes, I mean it works, and just for the Madden players out there, it works in Madden too. You can tell.
Well, Justin Jefferson, I saw a stat, and they do it a lot in Minnesota now with the Rams. Kevin O'Connell from the Rams over there. I think I saw a stat he ran 80% of his routes against linebackers this week. It was a huge number. Like basically how they were able to formationally just get him matched up against linebackers. And
he's good. That kid's good, man. Him and Chase are just they're a joy to watch, no question about it. All right, so we got to move. I think that's enough. We're gonna move away from the Chargers. We're gonna go on to the next opponent.
On to Arizona.
On to Arizona here. So I do think it's interesting because Vance Joseph. You talked about him being a blitzer, and we know he's a blitzer. And I wonder if this would be a week where you just don't blitz, because if he does, I mean, are you taking the slow death or the fast death? Because if you end up with a great opening drive by the Raiders, which I'm hoping does happen, and we don't have the first quarter stuff that I keep talking about, and they go on and score 7 points, and then you get like a strip sack or something like that, and it's 14-0, and I think if you take a kind of approach where like, hey, listen, I'm looking at the Derek's numbers the last a bunch of games. For instance, since Gruden's left, he has a bunch of turnovers. If I just keep the plays in front of me, he'll throw me one, or my defensive line can get there. What would be your approach if you were Vance Joseph? We obviously hope that he just doesn't do well, but if he does, go after the Raiders here, do you think he's just going to play his game and go right after him, or do you think that's going to be a situation where you could see him try to keep the plays in front of him and just say, hey, listen, eventually one of our blitzers is going to get there, one of our ends are going to get there. Maybe I can get a fumble, a strip sack, or I can get INT from a guy who has turned the ball over a lot in the last 13 games.
Well, the first question is JJ Watt going to play?
He ain't playing.
Let's
The Watts don't play. We know that the Watts don't play.
I think early. I don't think they're going to blitz a lot early. They're going to test out this offensive line and see if they can block the 4-down linemen.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't work, they're going to start coming. They're going to come on third downs. They're going to have exotic packages. They're going to know if they can get around Carr that there's a chance he can fumble it, and they're going to want to mess up some of the offensive line here, especially if you have Dylan Parham. If you have a rookie center in there that's never done it, one, you're going to want to put a guy right over to zero tech right on top of him. So whoever your biggest interior guy is, and then you're definitely going to want to mess with the communication of the offensive line. But I look at their secondary; they don't have a very good secondary. I don't think Byron Murphy played last week. Jalen Thompson's hurt, a starting safety. So clearly they still have Marco Wilson, who's a second-year player. They have Budda Baker, but is Mullen going to play? He's been limited this week, so they don't have a ton of guys back there who can cover. And if you can't get there with your front four and you're trying to cover the Raiders' weapons, you got no chance. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is they came after Patrick Mahomes. Like, they came after him. Why wouldn't they come after Derek Carr?
Yeah, that's a good point. I know it's a good point. I'm just trying to figure out how they're going to play this, because we talk about Parham a lot. Who is what's the name of the center that who's on practice squad?
I think
what's his name again?
Grasso. Starts with an H, like Coronis Grasso. He was with the Bears. He went to Oregon.
Who would you? I mean, just to keep him at, because if Parham played that well at guard, could we just want to keep him at guard and have promote Grasso, or just put the best player at center if you have an opportunity? Because I don't trust Cotton at all.
I didn't really like Grasso in the preseason. I didn't think he physically held up against the pass inside, and I think you want your best pass blockers out there.
Yeah.
And they can run the ball if they're going to run the ball, you're going to want Cotton out there. I wish there was another option.
Me too.
I don't think Simpson played that well either, to be honest with you. So they're going to need to have some combination out there, but I think Parham is the backup center. He's going to get the snaps. He's been doing it. I don't think you're going to bring a practice squad up guy and play him over Lester Cotton, because that's essentially what your decision is.
No, it's not.
The question is going to be, I think Alex Bars is going to be up this week too. Maybe he mixes in at right guard a little bit.
See that.
Because they're going to need an interior guy if there's an injury.
Yeah.
And Bars can play center. So if something happens to Parham, I would think Bars is the next guy up at both guard and center. So I expect him to be up this week. And then we'll see at right tackle. I thought Eliminor, other than the time he got forklift by Khalil Mack, I thought he was okay. But I thought Munford was pretty good in the run game. Munford still had his struggles pass blocking, though. The one big issue you had is when the right tackles, just I thought they got too close to the quarterback and when they were setting, and so if there was contact and he pushed him back like a couple of yards, he's right in Carr's lap. So I think that they need to have a little bit shorter sets and kind of give a little bit more space, and just trust your length. Trust the length that Munford has to make the guy run the arc, and then hopefully Carr can step up and the interior guys can give him a little bit of room.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think the pass rush from the Cardinals it's clearly not in the same atmosphere. You got Marcus Golden. Let's assume Watt doesn't play. Zach Allen, Dennis Gardick's a pretty good guy that can come off the corner, and maybe they blitz, Simmons or Collins on the inside. But it's not. They don't have the same edge guys that they had with the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know, man. I don't. Something about this game, and it's just a little quarterback. I just feel like he's just a pain in the butt, and I think he's. I mean, it'd be good to see that. I know that Chandler Jones knows him very well. Hopefully, they can get him down. And if they get Zach, he has trouble seeing the middle of the field. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at Zach Ertz and I'm saying, oh, sorry, they got Zach Ertz, but like, can he find Zach Ertz with all those bodies coming at him? You know what I'm saying? So we'll have to see
Max
what happens
Crosby's
there.
length, I think he's going to knock down a couple passes. Chandler Jones is a long guy too.
I think Max Crosby really. I think the one thing that I was amazed at is a couple of times last year in the opener against Lamar Jackson when Lamar tried to get to the outside, that
He
length
ran him down.
he ran him down. I was like, I could not believe it. I was just like, okay. I was like, no, Max is a boss. Like at that point, I knew how good I knew how good Max Crosby was. But this has everything. The line is only 2 for the Raiders, so I think you're going to see. I think at least for a half of this football game, you're definitely going to see a really spirited effort here by the Cardinals. They are a team that made the playoffs last year. They're not a team that this coach. People make fun of him all the time, but he goes out and beats Kyle Shanahan all the time. He goes out there and beats some good coaches a lot of the time. He beat him last year. He blew him out last year with Colt McCoy. So and also that running game with James Conner. It's something the Raiders have to watch for as well too, because Connor is a hard runner. So we'll see what happens there. But any other thoughts about this game? The matchup looks like it could be in there. If the Raiders can figure out that offensive line, it looks like it should be in their favor. But I'm not sure where I'm going with this game right now.
First, I have a line. I have 5.5 as the line. I think it's
about 5.5.
I think it's 5.5.
Okay.
I'm looking at the offensive line for the Cardinals, and DJ Humphries, Justin Pugh, Rodney Hudson, who's an older player now, Will Hernandez, Kelvin Beachum. I think this defensive line is going to eat. The question will be, can they contain Murray when they get close and not allow him to get out? Like, they got pressure on Herbert, they just let him out.
Open that fire. Okay, sorry. Open that.
So can they? Who's going to be the spy? What's going to be the defensive scheme here? I don't think they have a ton of weapons. If you can take Brown away, he's a deep threat. But AJ Green at this point is kind of just a possession receiver that's going to get a
tight end almost.
Yeah. And obviously Zach Ertz, you're going to have to contain him. I'm not scared by these weapons. I think the defense played pretty well. Nate Hobbs is a star. Like Nate Hobbs, I know some guy tweeted me maybe a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, Nate Hobbs is the one, and I kind of was like, I wouldn't be so fast. Nate Hobbs is a dog. Nate Hobbs is going to be a number 1 corner in this league. So I think he can take away whoever it is there. But I like him inside blitzing as a run defender, and he came in and made some nice tackles.
I think Rocky Sin did a little bit too. So yeah. he did a decent job too.
I think the Raiders' offense is going to have a big day in this game, and I think Kyler Murray just doesn't have the weapons. And I like the Raiders' defense much better than I like the Cardinals' defense in this game. And I think both offensive lines might struggle a little bit. So I think the Raiders are going to win this pretty easily. I think that they're going to win by double digits. I'm going to say 34-24.
They got to flex. They do got to flex.
Yeah.
I was looking at the opening line of the game, so
we'll say
that's where I got that from. So sorry. Go ahead.
I heard a stat today that 7 teams started 0-2 last year. None of them made the playoffs. So whoever loses this game
is done.
Is on the outside looking in. They're not done, but it's going to be really hard.
What year wasn't it like? What was that old school football where like teams would go 0-2 when they make the playoffs all the time? Like it seemed like when I was younger, teams did that all the time, and we'll have our picks as well in this episode as well too. But that's 5.5. It opened at 2 and 2.5. So that's where I got the number. I got this app to look at the lines and whatever. So I was looking at the wrong thing.
I'd be putting a lot of cash down if it was 2 when I get to Vegas on Saturday.
Yeah. And of course you be holding. I want to see you. Listen, like make sure that that camera's ready. Because you're gonna be on the field and make sure you're on the Raider side here.
Right? Yeah, on the home side.
On the home side as far as that goes. So yeah, it should be fun. Should be fun times out there. The Raiders. I'm gonna go the Raiders. I'm Raiders 28-24. 28-24. I feel like it's gonna take a little bit to get that thing going, and I kind of feel like maybe when they get it going, it'll be the game at Kansas City. But hopefully that does take place. But because I think they have a tough game after this. It's a tough game. If they win this game and if things go the way they should, or how we think, they're facing an 0-3 Tennessee Titans team with a head coach who is usually pretty good in Vrabel. So that's a tough task as well on the road. Justin Simmons. I mean, Simmons is who the D tackle is. What's his first name
Jeffrey
again?
Simmons.
Jeffrey Simmons. Justin Simmons is got hurt for the Broncos, but he's a beast, and obviously you got Derrick Henry too. But first things first, they got to win this game against the Cardinals. I think they find a way to win it, but I don't think it's going to be. For some reason, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It'd be nice if they could get 14 points, 17 points in the first quarter, so we're not sweating. But we'll see what happens as far as that goes.
I just think that, after watching the tape, I think they just made some mistakes, some first game mistakes, and I think that there was a lot of opportunities on the field against a really good team. I don't think this Cardinals team is anywhere near as good as the Chargers are in a lot of areas. So I think the Raiders clean up some of the issues. The one thing that I would say, and you text me about this today, is keep an eye on the officials in this game. Clete Blakeman is the referee.
Yes,
he threw 17 penalty flags. He did the Broncos Seahawks game week 1. 6 most penalties called last year, and they were at the top of the league as far as offensive holding penalties. So get a couple of holding penalties and cause some punts that may flip this game. So keep an eye on those yellow flags this week.
Listen, some officials maybe they're dating some people, and they want to make sure that they can look and go online and say, "Hey, babe, look at me, I'm on TV." Like they want to be on TV. Most officials don't want to be on TV unless they have to be. Some officials, as we know, with the index card, they want to be on TV as well.
He still is on TV.
Gene's territory. Gene's territory. I love it. Picks. So I believe I was 0-3 last week, and you were 1-2. That was correct.
Yeah, I missed one right at the end. I almost went 2-1.
So we had that. So let's see here. Let me go to my page with my picks here. So we got that. Trying to make sure I keep this organized for every week.
And these are against the spread. These aren't straight up. So
yeah,
we're trying to get about 60% here.
Yeah, and then also like the people who are on TV who do it without the spread is like, dude, come on. Like don't pick a game if you're doing it without the spread. Betting is allowed now. Pete Rozelle is not the commissioner anymore. Everybody bets now. We're trying to get betting in California now, so we all know that. All right, I'll
let you 27. It's coming.
Prop 27 is probably, dude. That would be that's gonna get passed with the quickness, faster than marijuana got passed in California. We'll Ryan have your picks first. What were the games you picked this week?
All right, last week I took a bunch of home underdogs playing, week 1, not really knowing what's going on. I'm going to punt that idea. I'm just going to pick good teams this week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at Indianapolis at Jacksonville. Indianapolis comes off a disappointing tie against the Texans. This is their second straight division game. I picked them to win the division. The line's 3.5 here. I think the Colts go on the road and they beat up on the Jaguars this week and get a W. So I'm going to take Indianapolis minus 3.5. Second game, I have Chicago at Green Bay. This is a big number. I don't really like laying double-digit numbers, but I watched that Chicago game. I don't like Chicago. I know they beat the 49ers. I know Green Bay lost the first week, but Aaron Rodgers going home, he owns Chicago. He's going to do the championship belt in the end zone and tell the fans. Again, I'm going to lay the 10. I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to lay 10. I'm going to take the Packers. I think they rout the Bears in this game.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go to another one. I'm going to go unconventional. I'm going to take Tampa Bay at New Orleans. My brother tried to talk me out of this because New Orleans beats up on Tampa Bay historically over the last few years. Tom Brady needs to beat New Orleans. They have a really good defense.
Yeah.
Sean Payton and Drew Brees are not on the other sideline. It's Dennis Allen and Jameis Winston. They needed a rally late to beat the Falcons last week. Tampa Bay's defense decimated the Cowboys and dominated that game. The line's 2.5, so Tampa basically just needs to win by 3. I'm going to lay the 2.5 on the road and take the Buccaneers.
All right, so I'm gonna usually if you pick something like I think last week I picked something that you picked, but we're going to and you switched it, but I'm 0-3, so I'm gonna stick with go with the Packers to hold that number 10 against the Bears. And then I'm gonna, I watch Philly. I'm gonna go Philly. I think two good teams are playing. I'm only getting. Let me just double check what that line is right now. The Philly line is 1.
2, maybe.
Yeah, it's 1. It's 1. They're at home. It's 1. So I'll give I'll give Philly. Hopefully Philly does that. I think that offensive line moves people. The one thing I'll say about that Philly game last week when they played the Lions, both offensive lines they move people because both of those teams can run the football like crazy. Jalen Hurts is just a guy who's if that first read isn't open, he's going to move the football down the field. And then I think it was LaShawn McCoy. I'm not sure who it was, but LaShawn McCoy is the one who said that the Patriots are finally done. And I think the money's coming in on the Patriots because this line is getting shorter and shorter. I think Tomlin finally does it. He finally puts them at 0-2. And
That
then
line 2 now?
Is it 2? I'll go with 2 if you got 2.
Yeah, I got 2.
I got 1. But I had to open at 1. Now it's at. I had opened at 2. Now it's at 1. But we'll roll with 2. So Patriots to Pittsburgh. I'm winning that game, and doing that as well. So we got Indy. Ryan has Indy. We have the Packers. We agree on the Packers. He has Tampa Bay winning. Tom Brady doing his thing there. Did you see that? Did you see their injury report for that game? For the Buccaneers?
No.
It was almost
maybe I should have.
It was almost the whole 53-man roster. Because I posted on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So Philly, 1, and then Pittsburgh, by 2 as well too. So
Jameis might throw 3 pick sixes in that game. Todd Bowles is gonna bring the house.
He might. Just in parting, have you enjoyed what you've seen from? I know because this channel is USC and Raiders. Have you enjoyed what you've seen from USC so far?
I have. I did. I watched the game against Stanford. I missed the opening week, but I really like the offense, the way they can move the ball down the field. I love Jordan Addison. I think I tweeted he reminds me a lot of Chad Johnson.
Yeah,
just similar size. He's smooth. He can get open. Great hands. Good route runner. He might be a first round receiver this year. He might be the first receiver off the board. We'll see as we get closer to the draft. But Caleb Williams, I love him. I like the offensive line. I thought it was okay. I don't really like the defense, but they're opportunistic. They're creating turnovers, which they need to do. They don't have a ton of size on that defensive line. They don't have that stud pass rusher, but I think the offense is going to score so many points that they're going to be able just to play coverage. They're not going to have to worry. Like if Stanford couldn't run it on them, I guess Utah might be the only other team in that conference that might be able to. A lot of people in the area are telling me to worry about Oregon State. I haven't watched Oregon State this year, but apparently they're supposed to be okay, but they haven't been good in a long time. So we'll see.
Yeah, I gotta. So after this, I gotta do the USC Student Body Right USC podcast, and I watched the game where they played Fresno State because it was a good game to watch because USC plays them back to back, and they do have a really good tight end. I forgot his name, but they do have a good they do have a really good tight end on that team. Solid quarterback play. Don't know if they can hang with USC. I think that at the end of the day, the thing about that their stadium is being under construction, so only half of the stadium is going to be active. So when they go to Corvallis, but I thought, they have a good team. I just don't know if they can hang with USC. I think the biggest game is. I wish the Utah game was in LA because I would definitely go to that game. But the USC Utah game is going to be gigantic. They can't look ahead, but if they get through these next, I think if they get through Corvallis, then you're looking at it. They're not going to lose to Arizona State. Not going to lose to Washington State. They're looking just for the Utah game at that point. But they're playing great football. And the quarterback has just been on the money. I mean, seeing him live and seeing the accuracy live, that's looking like. I know we got NIL money, but the NFL money is coming soon because Caleb Williams looks really good.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but someone told me that the Pac-12 for the championship game is just taking the 2 teams with the best conference record. It's not one from each side, so there's a chance USC could lose to Utah and then play Utah again.
And again, yes, they did do that.
I have tickets for that game, so we'll see what happens.
Hey, we have to have a conversation about that one again. We have a conversation about that one because that's I love to see USC play Utah.
I think it's December 2nd. It's a Friday, and the Raiders play the Chargers on Sunday. That might be a nice little weekend if USC's in that game, and then the Raiders are at home on Sunday against the Chargers.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool stuff. All right, Raider Nation. Listen, I hope that that I think the Raiders will click more so middle of the year towards the end. Ryan thinks they'll click in this game. I mean, this is an opponent where they should be able to. Yeah, they need to. I mean, like, listen, just get the W this week. I mean, the W is the most important thing. We'll post all that stuff to Twitter, all the picks and everything like that, and then we'll do what we do as far as getting that going. But see you next time, Raider Nation. Take care.
Take care.
Peace.